Hello?
And now, AM 650 presents your source for leading-edge news and information on today's hottest products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Well, good evening and welcome to Experts on Call here on AM 650, one of my favorite shows. We get to talk pets for the next hour with Phil Moriarty, the owner of the BC Canine Training Center, which is actually just a mile or so down the road from where we are here in Richmond. The BC Canine Training Center is at the very foot of number 3 Road in Richmond, below Steveston Highway. In fact, if you go past the BC Canine Training Center, you're likely to take a dip in the Fraser River. Phil, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Sterling. Take a bathing suit.
Exactly. Yeah, nice 5-acre spot down there. How long have you had the BC Canine Training Center?
13 years.
Okay. And was it an animal training facility before you took it over?
Well, it was a police dog training center.
Oh, I see.
And
so it's been a purposeful designated spot for a long time then.
Yeah, when I took it over, I opened it up to the public. So we still do all the training that would take a dog up to security level, licensing, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I wanted to open it up to the public because of the facility, the ability to have the space to run, let the dogs exercise, and no reason why the public can't have trained dogs too.
Well, there's absolutely none, and it's a great idea. And of course, it's been a huge hit ever since you rolled it over into public accessibility. What's been going on down there at the foot of number 3 Road since we last talked about a month ago, Phil?
Lots of daycare, lots of training, lots of boarding, and now's actually we're even getting busier than we normally are. This time of year.
Right.
People are getting ready for holidays. Dogs are outside more than inside now. The weather's getting nicer, drier, warmer. People are taking their dogs to the kennel just to get exercise with all their friends.
Right, and sometimes that's the solution, isn't it? I mean, if you have the ability to exercise your dog to the extent the dog actually needs to be exercised, then you're fine. But a lot of us are, well, kind of busy, Phil, and we still want to have a dog and do right by the dog, so we have to make some accommodations in our lives.
That's right. I mean, sometimes the dogs, maybe they don't need as much exercise as they will get when they come to the kennel, but they sure need a lot of mental exercise when they've got a working family.
Right.
Because the dog left at home, left to his own devices, is not necessarily the best company.
Right.
And can sometimes get into trouble. But it doesn't do the dog any good to have its brain shut down either.
Right. And particularly, if you've been spending the last few months in a kind of an enclosed, sedentary home kind of environment, and suddenly you get a chance to open it up a little bit. I mean, how fantastic can that be for the dog after being cooped up in a small area to finally get a chance not only to just go out and exercise, Phil, but to do it with other dogs?
Sure. Do it with people that he understands.
Yeah, exactly.
And
his
all those
peer group.
Yeah, and all those New Year's resolutions where you were going to lose the weight by walking the dog have not come to fruition, and now the dog's overweight. Mm-hmm. And an inactive dog that's fed the same amount of food that it was when it was active is going to be a heavy dog.
Right. So when we take, you talk about people going on holidays, and it's early June, and a lot of people are taking early vacations, particularly those who like to take vacations when there are not a lot of kids around, and so they're already out there. Now, in some cases, we take the dog with us, and in others, we go to places where it's just not appropriate for a dog. And then we look for a place, a kennel of some kind, to park the pooch for a couple of weeks. So when we go around, and then I'm just giving, I'd like some general tips from a long-time dog training guy. And Phil's background, by the way, friends, goes much further back than the 13 years he's been the proprietor of the BC Canine Training Center. Phil's, in a previous life, was a police officer with both Vancouver and Delta forces. And while in uniform in Delta, you were a detective in Vancouver, but while in uniform in Delta, you were a canine officer. You had a 4-legged partner.
That's right.
So you've been in the biz.
Best partner I ever had.
I'll bet. I've heard that from other
Never
canine
told me I
cops.
was doing anything wrong.
minimum lip back, huh? But when we're looking around, Phil, help us just understand, because it is that time of year when we are contemplating holidays, and maybe this isn't the right place to take Fido. Maybe we should find a place to park the dog and go and have a non-dog holiday for a change of pace. So when we're considering boarding the dog for a week or two, or perhaps even longer, talk to us about, when we go checking out kennels, what to look for and what the clues should be.
Yeah, regardless whether it's my kennel or
exactly.
any other kennel, what people should be looking for is the dog going to be safe and healthy where it is?
Okay.
And so, ask whether you can view the premises. Do an inspection and see whether the dog, cleanliness helps to stop disease.
So first of all, we would probably do an online search of some kind.
Yeah, once you've identified where.
Narrowed it down to maybe 3 or 4. And then you're saying just don't do it all online. Get in the car and get out there and go have a look.
Yeah, a website can say anything.
Yeah.
And it can throw pictures up, but the pictures could be historical too. So, what is the kennel like today? Is it as clean as they say on the kennel, on the website? Physically asked to inspect. Are the runs big enough for your dog? If you've got a big dog and they're small runs, is he really going to get the exercise? The sleeping quarters for the dogs, are they sufficient for the size of your dog?
Right, right.
Are they indoor, outdoor? Are they heated, not heated? What kind of exercise is the dog? Is there a program where the dogs are just going to be walked, or is there a program where they can actually get outside and play with other dogs and run and get the exercise that you think they're going to get? Does the facility require you to have all your shots up to date? Because if they don't, then that's a pretty good indicator that there could be some disease contamination that's capable of happening.
So I'm looking for red flags, and I've got a couple already. If you go to a kennel of any description and you say, we're considering a parking Rover for a couple of weeks, can we have a look around? And they discourage that. That's a red flag. They should encourage you to look around and be proud to show off their place.
Why don't they want you to see that?
Exactly. And another red flag would be if they don't ask you if your pet has been appropriately vaccinated.
Well, not only if they don't ask you, if they don't want to see the certificates.
Right.
To see that they're current.
I'm sure that when someone takes an animal into the BC Canine Training Center, either for boarding, Phil, or for an actual training program, that's mandatory. You have to show those certificates.
Yeah, because there's all kinds of people out there, and some people can afford to get the shots and may sort of give you a wink and a nod that the shots are up to date. Well, we want to see the certificates.
Right.
Because that's not fair to the other dogs that are in there. To allow a dog to come in that doesn't have all its shots up to date.
And we hear about kennel cough and other communicable diseases, and so this just minimizes all that, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah. Bordetella is the kennel cough.
Okay, so then, again, carry on, because already I've got a couple of things that I know if I'm not happy about, then I'm probably in the wrong kennel. What other, again, just curiosity, we're just doing an inspection here.
A big one to me would be, is there water around?
Oh, for goodness sake. Of course.
Is every run that you see got fresh water and sufficient fresh water? In this time of year, in the summertime, are there little wading pools out there for the dogs because they get hot? And, do they have a means of cooling off? Are there shelters out there to protect them from the sunshine? They'll be out running around and get dehydrated pretty quick if they don't have sufficient water and some shade.
Right. So, but then there's the thing about they'll be out running around. Maybe they won't. Maybe you'll want to ask about exactly what do you plan to do to help my dog pass the day while he's here for 2 weeks. What activities do you put them through? And they should have it pretty clearly mapped out for you, shouldn't they?
Oh, yeah. For example, our place has at least 10 or 12 different outside runs where we can mix and match dogs so that they're compatible.
Right.
A lot of places will keep dogs separated because they might not be compatible. And that doesn't do the dog much good. And even if there's a dog that is aggressive or, say, not neutered and can't really go with other dogs, depending on what you've got there, even if they're side by side in a run, they can chase the others back and forth and still get all the exercise, talk to them through the fence and that sort of thing. So, you know, there's exercise for everybody. But if it's a place that doesn't really have a place for the dogs to exercise, then really what's happening is they're probably just being babysat and
walked.
Yeah, and if they're walked on a leash, that doesn't really do the dogs a lot of good as far as getting the exercise, because if you've got a lot of dogs there and a few staff members that are walking them, how many dogs can they walk before they physically can't walk anymore? Dogs that get them the exercise they need.
Let me take a sort of a quick side turn on that one and spin off that thought, Phil, into a question about anyone with a dog, and back to the New Year's resolution, and we all had them in January. I'm going to walk Rover 4 times a day every day. I'm going up the biggest hill in town every day, and I'm going to lose weight, and so will he, and everybody will be happy. Well, that didn't work out too well. But when we have a dog, and part of having a dog is absolutely...
It was fun for Rover while it lasted.
That's right, exactly. It was great for, 4 days? Yeah. And then you ran out of gas. But if you have a dog, part of the privilege and responsibility of having a dog is making sure your animal is exercised. Now, a lot of us will clip on the leash and go for a walk 2 or 3 or 4 times a day. And you're suggesting that in the case of some dogs, particularly larger dogs, those leash walks are essential, but in many cases not enough. The dog needs more. So how do those of us who leash walk our dogs 2 or 3 or 4 times a day give that dog more? Is it take him to an off-leash park? Is that the remedy?
An off-leash park, yeah, where he can run. One of the downsides of off-leash parks is you don't know what other dogs are going to be out there.
Absolutely.
And so there's the socialization has to be there. And so larger dogs typically do much better at a off-leash than the smaller dogs do, who could be overwhelmed by a lot of boundless energy from other dogs. And but you know, walking a dog, if you're the dog is restricted to the physical ability that you have.
Exactly.
And you know, limited also by the length of the leash.
Right. So again, it's important if you have a dog, and if you're a responsible dog owner and you do that daily ritual of walks and all the rest of it, and the plastic bags and the whole bit, sometimes, and I would imagine, is it the younger the dog, Phil, the more exercise or is it size, age, or is it a combination of all of those?
Combination of all of those. Typically, you know, if you had to profile it, the person who is, say, retired, has a dog that is middle-aged to older, the walks are probably fine for it.
Right.
Because you'll be able to spend enough time on the walk that it becomes meaningful for the dog. If you're out there for an hour at a leisurely pace and the dog is taking 10 steps for every step you take, that's going to be good exercise for a you know, middle-aged to older dog. But a young dog that has boundless energy and you know, his brain still needs to be fed with you know, activity, mental activity, that's not going to be enough for him.
Sure. Okay. Just good to remember. Now back to the kennels and back to this important.
But again, a small dog is when it takes 10 steps, it's not going to need as much room to take them.
That's true, which is why a lot of people are happy with small dogs. Now, back to these clues and kennels, as it is an important time of year, and a lot of us with dogs and cats and other pets look to alternate accommodation for them while we buzz off for a little holiday of our own. So again, the sorts of things that we should investigate and pay particular attention to. They seem small, Phil, but for example, when you're inspecting a kennel that you might want to put your dog into for a week or two, and you look around and you for example, water. I mean, what an incredibly plain as the nose on your face detail. But if you look around a dog place and there's not a lot of water, something's wrong. It's just that simple.
And the other thing that I would, you know, and these are easy to see.
Sure.
And if you know about them, you can, they should be alarm bells. If the water is one, and if you look out in the runs and there's poo that hasn't been picked up, and it looks like it's dry, it's probably been there for a little bit of time. So, where's the that's got to be picked up all the time.
Right. Okay. So again, general cleanliness
Yeah.
and attention to detail.
Sure. When I go into a garage, when I go to get gas and I go into a washroom for a pit stop, if that place is pretty dirty, that tells me a whole lot about the place I'm in.
Absolutely.
So it's not unlike a kennel that doesn't pick up the poo.
So bottom line, from the point of view of selecting a kennel, don't just do it all online. Do the initial investigation online, because there's a lot of competition out there. But once you narrow it down to 2 or 3 likely possibilities, get in the car and go check them out.
Right. And does it smell clean?
Ah. Now, can the opposite of that being smelling like chemically, hospital-y, too clean?
I don't know whether you can go too clean. You don't want to be using abrasives and way too much bleach where it's becoming nauseous.
That's why I asked. Yeah.
But if it smells the opposite of that and just smells like either poo or urine, that sort of thing, then they're not properly caring for the animals.
Our guest on Experts on Call is Phil Moriarty, the owner of the BC Canine Training Center at the foot of No. 3 Road below Steveston Highway in Richmond. 5 acres of canine paradise. And we're back with lots more about your pets on Experts on Call after this.
Delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call. And there's more still ahead on AM 650.